everyone, welcome to the Movieception Show. My name is Fariba, and well, today is Last of Us Day, and episode 3 has now dropped. Not gonna go too deep into anything. I already did kind of a pre-discussion video a couple of hours ago, just kind of giving my thoughts so far about the show, including the things that we saw from episode 2, but yeah, I mean, I'm super stoked about tonight's episode because there's just been so much talk about, episode 3, the episode where we're going to be introduced to 2 new characters, Bill and Frank. That's all I know about it, but given kind of the high phrases for it, I am very curious about episode 3 tonight. So yeah, without further ado, let's watch Last of Us episode 3. So there is no prologue for this one, from the looks of it. Oh my god. I know what he's doing. He's building a memorial for Tess, isn't it?
Look, I've been thinking about...
I want your sorries.
I wasn't gonna say I'm sorry. I was gonna say that I've been thinking about what happened. Nobody made you a test taker. Nobody made you go along with his plan. You needed a truck battery or whatever, and you made a choice. So don't blame me for something that isn't my fault.
Oh shit. She's got a point. And that's respect.
People.
Oh. Are Bill and Frank nice?
Frank is.
Or something?
I didn't fall down any stairs.
Okay, so what then?
Someone shot at me and missed.
See, that's cool. Shoot back?
Yeah.
You get him?
No, I missed too. It happens more often than you think.
Because you suck at shooting, or like in general?
I love this conversation.
In general.
You know, seeing as it's just the two of us, I was thinking I should...
No.
She really wants that gun.
I
Cumberland,
have stuff to ask
damn.
here.
You ask a lot of goddamn questions.
Yes, I do.
Aw.
We had supplies en routes. We find ourselves short on gear, which I currently am, because...
No way. You ever play this one?
Mortal Kombat 2, hey!
There's this one character named Melina who takes off her mask and she has monster teeth and then she swallows you whole and barfs out your bones. Oh, man.
She played Mortal Kombat?
Is there anything bad in here?
Just you.
Huh. Getting funny.
Again. Please no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Oh, it's already been smushed. Oh. Don't touch it.
You fly one of those?
A few times, sure.
So what?
It's not directly from the game.
Didn't feel like it at the time.
Die.
Yeah, well, so did they.
This is direct. Oh my god. I know the scene. Oh my god.
Cordyceps mutated. Some of it got into the food supply, probably a basic ingredient like flour or sugar. There were certain brands of food that were sold everywhere, all across the country, across the world. Bread, cereal, pancake mix. You eat enough of it, it'll get you infected. Friday night, September 26, 2003. On Monday, everything was gone.
Shit.
of the small towns. Told you you were going to a QZ, and you were. If there was room. If there wasn't.
These people aren't sick.
No, probably not.
Oh my god.
I kill them.
Not today, you New World Order jackboot fucks.
Oh my god. Oh. It's Ron Swanson. This man is getting apocalypse prepared. Oh, he's apocalypse prepared, alright. Oh my god. Oh!
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 10. Yeah, I'm alone. From where? Baltimore QZ? It's gone.
Are you hurt?
Oh, he has a machine too.
Looking for a free lunch. And this is not an Arby's.
Arby's didn't have free lunch, it was a restaurant.
Oh, that's sweet of him.
Thank you. Almost done. Hold on, can I have 5 more minutes?
Sure. Sure!
Thank you. This is amazing.
He's so amazed.
No, thank you. Sorry. Not this one. Not this one. Bob, I'm not professional. Well, neither am I. Take things in stride. Sounds like good advice, but there's no one at my side.
That's really sad. Good for them. I hope they're staying together, because that's what I'm getting the vibes of. Aww. Oh my god. Aww. Aww. 3 years later.
Come on!
Oh.
Hey!
Married couple, eh?
Do I ask for things? Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. I live in this world. You live in a psycho bunker where 9/11 was an inside job and the government are all Nazis.
The government are all Nazis!
Oh,
Yeah, now,
no.
but not then. Then the clothing boutique.
The boutique.
Boutique.
Are we hosting formal garden parties now?
No. But we are going to have friends.
Excuse me? Yeah.
I've actually been talking to a nice woman on the radio.
Is that Tess?
You what?
Oh my god, that would be Tess, isn't it? Oh my god.
Can you not, please?
Frank!
Oh my god. Oh boy.
Tops. Galvanized wire already started to corrode. I can get you 10 spools of high tensile aluminum. Last you the rest of your life.
Construction guy.
Lives.
We should use codes for the radio in case anyone's listening.
Oh, that's a good idea. Like what?
Codes.
Pick it up.
Strawberries. Oh my lord.
Never afraid before you showed up.
Oh. Someone's coming. Oh, it's raiders. Oh shit.
Bill! Bill! Get inside!
Oh, Joel. He'll take care of you.
Oh, he trusts Joe. Shit. Aw, they're like a married old couple.
I promise you I'm gonna stay up.
Why?
Because this is my last day.
What?
You'll wear when I ask. We'll get married.
Aw.
And you cook a delicious dinner.
Oh my god, I know this song. This is the same score that they played for Arrival. I know this score. It's so sad too. Oh no.
Why are there already pills in the bottle?
Enough to kill a horse. I'm satisfied. And you were my purpose.
Oh.
It's incredibly romantic.
No. No. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh. You're too late. You are too late. Oh, it's been days. Shit.
I'm guessing you found this, Joel, because anyone else would have been electrocuted or blown up by one of my traps. I never liked you. But still, it's like we're friends. Almost. And I respect you.
That's very endearing.
So I'm gonna tell you something because you're probably the only person who wonders. I saved him. Then I protected him. That's why men like you and me are here. We have a job to do. And God help any motherfuckers who stand in our way. Use them to keep.
If I'm taking you with me, there's some rules you gotta follow.
Shit.
Rule 1, you don't bring up Tess, ever. Matter of fact, we can just keep our histories to ourselves.
Yeah. This guy was a genius.
Yep, he was.
Why was the music on?
If you didn't reset the countdown every few weeks, this playlist would run over the radio. No.
She still wants a gun.
There's a wall of them.
looking more and more like Ellie from the game. Gun.
Well, you look pretty.
Shut up.
Nice.
Seatbelt. Seatbelt.
So
So that was The Last of Us episode 3 right there, and it was definitely not what I had anticipated going into this episode. So, because let's be honest, like when we got into this show, we started off with really from the perspective from Tess, Joel, and Ellie, because from, for someone like me who is a bit more of a casual viewer who hasn't played the video games before, right? Like for me, I've always anticipated that this is going to be a show solely focused on Joel and Ellie, right? But the way that this episode has, really changed that, right? This episode is more focused on Bill and Frank, but in a way that gives us a different idea of this whole apocalypse, right? For one thing, in the first 2 episodes, we've seen sort of just the grim, dark side of what's happened in Apocalypse. I mean, that's gonna always be the case. We've always seen the sad part of it. We've always seen the more tragic part of it. That's usually the case in almost any sort of survivalist type of movie, TV show, game that we've ever come across. This episode definitely takes a different pace and direction in terms of really portraying what's going on in this world. Again, kind of being an antithesis of what's going on with Joel and Ellie's world compared to Bill and Frank. So I'm gonna start off with Bill and Frank. Of course, like there's a lot to really digest, but let's start off with Bill and Frank because this is what this episode's mostly dedicated towards. So of course, when we get into this, when we get to meet these 2 characters, right off the bat, we get this idea that Bill is a survivalist. We understand that he is someone who is very prepared about things like catastrophes, and in this case he understood that apocalypse is going to happen, and I guess he was right. Like he was totally prepared for it, and for him it was always about just trying to take care of himself, making sure to live most of his life the longest way possible. That's something that we've always figured survivalists will always have that sort of that mentality. But it's really interesting how in this whole situation it becomes a bit more of like, I would say, like a San Junipero. Like when I was watching this episode, I was literally thinking San Junipero from Black Mirror, because given kind of everything that we've seen from a show, whether it be like its theme and aesthetic, kind of its premise, right? I never would have thought that we were gonna have like this apocalyptic, survivalist sort of show turn into a big moment of the game to have something that's a bit more romantic, something that's more endearing, in a way that shows a different perspective of everything that's going on, right? So in this case, the moment that Bill does meet Frank, everything changes, right? We see sort of a situation where we're kind of seeing someone who is sort of a similar mentality to that of Joel, but has lived through a different outcome, right? So in this case, we're seeing through Bill and Frank, and how for them, even despite this outbreak, somehow for them they were able to find happiness with each other, and one that not a lot of people have been fortunate enough to get, right? They've been fortunate enough to have this moment. Like we're seeing something that's a bit more of the not the happier side of the outbreak, because the outbreak itself still sucks, but we're seeing a perspective where things like, even considering how we've always associated with the apocalypse being grim, sad, depressing, this episode showed a bit more of a humanistic, humane side of things, something that felt so genuine about, okay, well, there are these two characters who, despite the outbreak, they were able to find each other, and it becomes a whole different situation of things, and giving this perspective that, aside from, from what we've always associated with depressing, apocalypse shows, here's a moment where we actually see something very heartwarming, and that is Bill and Frank's story, and we really see sort of their journey together, right? It's only going to be one episode journey, of course, not like Ellie and Joel's where it's going to be multiple. Here we see definitely more of a whole journey in one episode of where, they're dealing with this whole apocalypse. They're, and eventually at some point they become the two people in this one area together, and how they live through their life and how they're dealing with it, and how, again, I don't know how accurate it is to the game. Like, I don't know if this is something that happened in the game itself, or this was one of the bigger changes from the games that, they decided to input into this show to give it a different vibe out of it, because again, when it comes to adaptations, there can be changes. But here, it's like we definitely see something that is a bit more heartwarming. And I think it does serve a purpose later on in that episode, which I'll talk about in a second. But focusing mostly on Bill and Frank, I never anticipated that we were going to have something like this. Like, the way that Nick Offerman really just outdoes himself as Bill, right? Because I'm familiar with his work as Ron Swanson in Parks and Rec. And of course, like, you definitely get a bit of similar vibes with him and Bill, right? But for him, just to see how much he changes, right? Literally, by the end of their story, we see how he became a changed person because of, meeting Frank, how he starts to find a purpose and living in this apocalypse other than just, just being a survivor. I never would have imagined a writing like this ever for a apocalyptic sort of show, movie, anything of that sort, of this genre, to really take a deep turn that, is very original in that case. And we definitely see that, again, depressing as apocalypse are, this one definitely feels like, you're feeling this sense of hope as you're going through this episode, right? Because again, with everything that's going around, they're like, for anybody who is living in this world, they're just surviving. They're just dealing with the last days of their lives, and that's about it. This show is literally called The Last of Us, right? And the end of times, and here it is, we're seeing sort of a different mentality from just two people and how they're dealing with life, and one that they try to make sure that it is worth everything, like every second of everything that's going on. And again, just to see the performances from Nick Offerman, and I just realized it was not Nolan North, it was, I believe, Bartlett, who plays Frank. They both put such an amazing job of really just showcasing this couple and how they live their life, and how they've really been thick and thin to each other, and how they made the best of their lives given that everything that's going on in the background. Again, and I'm gonna go back to really just Bill, because I think Bill is sort of giving us a different perspective. Again, I think for them it's really just showing this perspective of things are, things don't have to always be sad, things don't have to always be depressing, especially in Bill's case, right? We're definitely, there's that one scene where we do meet Tess and Joel, and kind of giving us this idea of how they meet them, and it's great to know how that happened, because that gives us a bit more of that context of everything. But I love how they really were just showing off as Tess and Frank kind of being that one sort of that partner who thinks of a more hopeful thing about what's of the situation and scenarios of things that are going on, whereas we're seeing Bill and Joel, who are definitely a bit more to themselves, a bit more skeptical about things. They don't really look at things in a very positive light, especially in Joel's case, because he did lose his daughter. That was definitely an interesting bit, because I think we definitely see where Joel and Bill are a lot more alike than they want to really accept. which again I'm going to talk about in the last part in a second. But that was something that I really truly think was a really big part of really giving us this like, you know, idea, this like, you know, this hopefulness that we're getting out of this show, where because of, you know, we get a character like Ellie who happens to be, you know, immune to this sort of cordyceps infection. It's like we're getting this sort of not just purpose but hope in humanity, and I think that this episode really serves its purpose of giving us a bit more of this hopeful situation, everything, right? And this again, the beginning and end of a story of like this couple and how things worked out, and you know how they lived through their life. And I mean, I think for one part, I mean, I think when we do look at this episode, like given everything that we anticipated, like the last thing that we would have imagined was that Joel was going to have another big obstacle, right? Like these two, you know, this couple, right? They decide to die together because, you know, there's nothing left for either of them if they're not with each other, right? And here it's like, okay, that plays a big part of what will basically be Joel and Ellie, because had it not been for where Bill had, you know, basically his whole life in those 20 years, well, in this case 17 years with Frank, you know, it probably wouldn't be the thing that would push Joel to, you know, start off the rest of the series moving forward, right? And so let's go back to, so having said that, right, like that was definitely a really great part of that episode. And then let's go into really just Joel and Ellie, because we do see them in the beginning and end of this episode. For one thing, I will say I did catch a couple very comic game accurate episodes. If I said comic, I meant to say game, but yeah, game accurate scenes. Like, I mean, the one scene where they're seeing like that whole plane that, you know, that's been destroyed and, you know, abandoned. Yeah, that I have seen that image several times before, and I did not anticipate that we were going to have something as accurate as that. So that was really cool to see. And not just that, but given that everything that's happened from the last episode, because Tess did die, because Tess is gone, just to see really their relationship start to really kind of build up. I think that's one thing that I think we all were hoping to see would start to really pick up from the last episode, and we definitely get that feeling, of course. Just seeing how, you know, Ellie is really just trying to build up a conversation with Joel. Joel is just answering them, and as much as the fact that he doesn't want to get close to her, I mean, we're definitely getting this hint that it's going to happen, right? We're seeing sort of that dynamic. I'm loving it so far. Again, just this more complex, complicated sort of situation, because again, we do realize that, you know, Joel is very reserved. He doesn't want to get too close to someone like, you know, Ellie, who, you know, is basically like a resemblance to his daughter in some ways. The last thing that he needs is that, you know, reminder, but we're definitely getting that sort of dynamic that we've been hoping would happen as we move forward. And then we see that kind of build up again by the end of this episode. I mean, for one thing, I'll say, like, just to see that they were too late, I mean, that was definitely a bit devastating, just because, like, they go through all of this, like, we were going through all of this, only to see that, you know, Joel doesn't get Bill's help, right? Bill dies with Frank. They basically decide to, you know, have their, you know, their final moments together, and I think that is a very impactful and significant moment right there, because then again, we do get that letter from Bill, who basically tells Joel, like, you know, kind of his, you know, his situation, his perspective, what it felt like for him knowing that he had Frank. That was very significant. I think that's going to I mean, from what we see here, it definitely is a big push for Joel to continue on his journey, right? Because Tess is gone, right? Tess is gone. You know, he still needs to search for his brother. The Fireflies, we know, at least from the destination that they were at before, it's gone. He still has a girl, Ellie, with him. He doesn't know what to do with her. And now that the one person that he thought would have at least helped him is also gone too, right? But with that whole journey that we saw with Bill and Frank, again, we get that letter that we see, right? That letter that Ellie reads off to Joel, his last testament, basically, and basically telling him how, you know, for this whole journey, when this apocalypse had started, he didn't care about anything. He had, you know, he was just trying to live the best of his moments. That was all that he was looking forward to in terms of this apocalypse. And then the moment that he met Frank, things just changed, right? Like, he finally found that purpose. We saw that from his last moments with Frank. We see that again here in that letter that take all that you want, keep Tess safe. Of course, we all know that she died in the last episode. Bill and Frank don't know that because they had already passed long before that. From the looks of it, does sound like they've died like about at least like a couple weeks, from the looks of it, just from like looking at that dining scene, but from that dining table. But yeah, just reading that off, like just the way that you can see Joel and how his attitude just changes, right? The moment that Ellie reads it, like, you definitely get that moment of, okay, this guy is now really going to continue on with his journey, and he will do what he needs to do to really continue it off, right? Because again, Tess told him that you need to get her to Bill. He will know what to do with her. Plus, she seems to be the one thing that can bring back not humanity back to normalcy, but perhaps save it, right? That was her last moment, and now here it is. Like, yeah, for one thing, in Joel's case, it does suck for him because now he's seeing more people die around him, people that he at least were associated with, people that he had some acquaintance, but only see that they're all dying, right? But he still has one thing that's living in front of him, and that is Ellie. And I think that that's a really significant thing about moving forward in his journey, and a big part, again, a very big turning point of all things that are happening, right? He's finding more reasons to keep on going with his journey. That I think that that's really important, especially with this episode, again, like giving off this, like, this testament from Bill and how he lived through his last moments. And here it is, he has someone like Ellie, as much as the fact that he doesn't want to be as close to her as he wants to. Here he is, like, now he wants to continue off with his journey. We even get this very tender moment between him and Ellie, and how he's helping her figure out how to wear a seatbelt in a car, because this is her first time being in a car, right? Again, we're definitely seeing more and more of Joel kind of opening up himself a little bit more, as much as the fact that he wants to keep his feelings reserved. He doesn't want to get close to Ellie, and I think that's going to play a big part moving forward in this journey that is The Last of Us, and again, the story that we all know of, that being Joel and Ellie. And again, even though this was an episode that, was mostly focused on more side characters than really the two main characters, I think that overall Drunkman and Mazin does a great job of really just setting up this world, setting up this idea of what's going on, giving us the perspective of people, where they are, what's going on, how people are feeling, because I think that's a big important part of understanding what's happening in this world. And I think so far it's been very effective of really setting the stage of what's going to happen, what's going to affect the characters, especially in Joel's case, because again, he knew Bill and Frank, and what's going to mean for Joel to really continue off this journey. And I think that, again, this plays a big part of it. Again, just to see how, as much as the fact that he really doesn't want to get close to Ellie, I think we're going to start seeing more of that happening moving forward into the remaining 6 episodes that we have. But yeah, this was a pretty great episode. I liked it. I understand why a lot of people were hyping it up. And again, that was just a really heartbreaking thing to watch for Bill and Frank, but also one that, like, you're kind of happy that, they were together, and something that, again, I got a lot of San Junipero vibes watching this. I mean, this is what I felt it was, and again, this was a great episode, great performances by Nick Offerman and Bartlett, and again, I can't wait to see the next episode. This is a show that continues to really just, get better and better, and just what it's trying to portray, whether it be the world, the characters, whatnot. And I can't wait for next week's episode, which I believe is going to overlap with the Super Bowl, which is great. I mean, I'm probably gonna watch the show anyways over the game, but we'll see about that. But yeah, that's all I have to say about episode 3. What do you think? How did you enjoy episode 3? What are your thoughts about Ben and Frank? How they really, if you are a gamer, if it was a big change, how do you feel about that change? If it's not, like, in terms of just like the accuracy, how does it feel like? What do you think about this being a huge part of Joel and Ellie's story so far? do you think it served a purpose for what it was supposed to be, given that it is a bit of a different direction from the main characters? And not just that, but what do you think is going to happen moving forward? Oh, I forgot to mention one thing with the theory. They basically confirmed the whole breadcrumb theory. Like, not the breadcrumb theory. I mean, it is a breadcrumb theory, but the theory that, you know, it's because of, like, the breads and the wheats and all that sort of stuff that caused it. So that was a big part that, you know, Joel basically confirmed, which was great to hear, because I've been hearing about it all the time, and that was something that, you know, I totally almost overlooked for a bit, but that was really cool to hear as well. What do you think about that? They basically, I guess, confirmed it in this case, because I believe that has been hyped up since the first episode has been, you know, it has been kind of teased a little bit that this is what's going on. We got that from the Jakarta scene. We got that from the fact that, you know, Joel and Sarah weren't eating any of the wheat products or whatnot. They basically confirmed that in a sense. How do you think about that theory that they really touched upon in this episode a little bit? And yeah, what are your thoughts overall? Again, this was a great episode in my opinion. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed it, make sure to like and subscribe.